What's up, guys? Sadiq Davies, and welcome to Experiences with Sadiq. On this episode of Experiences with Sadiq, I'm going to walk you guys through a step-by-step process on how agents like myself price your home for sale in today's market. Let's go. Spring is right around the corner and summer's right after. These are possibly the two best seasons to sell your home for top dollar. You might be considering selling your home, but you need a right agent who can get the job done for you. The agent you're hoping to hire needs to be an expert at pricing your home in order for your home to sell. Don't worry though. I'm going to actually walk you through the process of how agents, especially myself, do a market comparison on your property and come up with a price in order for your home to sell. If you like what you see in here, like that video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. Once I'm done with my clients and I gather all the information that I need from my clients, I take all that information back, I head back to the office, and I start doing my thing. So I'm going to go through a step-by-step process of how I price my clients' home to sell in today's market. So the very first thing that we're going to do, I've already have a property in mind that I'm going to use in order to price out or try to come up with the price for a client of mine. Is a property that I've already sold for a client. So we're just going to use that property as a reference guide. So typically us agents, we have a database called the MLS, which is our multiple listing service site, which allows us to do so many things. Allows us to be able to do market comparisons when we're getting ready to price out our client's home. Do some market research as well. Keep up with market trends. There's just so much information that's in our MLS that we could utilize to our own benefit. In addition to that, it also gives us the ability to, just do more in-depth research. We know about properties that's coming onto the market before any buyer does. We know what's coming soon. We know what's active, and obviously, as buyers, you guys might know what's active as well. There's so much we could do with our MLS, and across the U.S., every state has their own version of the MLS, but pretty much we all could do the same thing. The functionalities might be slightly different, tabs might look different, the site might look different itself, but this is Rhode Island's version of their own MLS. All right, I'm also a realtor for Mass, so Massachusetts MLS site looks totally different from Rhode Island's MLS. So enough of that. What I want to do is just basically show you guys a quick process of how I price my client's home and just do a quick market comparison to figure out what other properties sold for recently, why they sold at the price that they sold for, and what we look for when we're trying to compare our client's home with other sellers' home so we could come up with a price for those homes as well. Very first thing that I like to do once I log into the MLS site is that I like to click the property type that I am going to do a market analysis on. Because every home is different, right? You have Cape Cod style home, you have bungalow style home, you have log homes, you have colonials, you have raised ranch, you have ranches. There's different type of homes. So I like to select the type of home that my client's home is because I want to be able to make sure that if I am going to create a market comparison, I want to make sure the type of market comparison I'm doing are properties that's similar to my client's home. When I'm doing a market comparison, I want to make sure that the property is anywhere from a quarter of a mile from my client's home to about 2 miles out, depending on the extent of what I'm trying to do. I might go beyond 2 miles. It just depends on the situation. Every property is different. So the very first thing I like to do, like I said, I already have a reference home. I already know this property is a Cape Cod home that we're going to be utilizing. So I'm going to select Cape Cod style home first. In addition to that, I want to know what homes recently sold within the last 6 months. So I'm going to click sold, and what's going to happen is that once I start inputting certain things in each field, down here where it says matches, it's going to start giving me matches of properties that's exactly similar to my seller's home. The next thing I want to do is input the property address of my seller. So in this case, I already start playing around, so some of the filters are already inputted. So in this situation, we're going to use 3 Picard Drive just as a reference. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to add the total amount of bedrooms for this property, as well as the total amount of baths for the property. So my client's home has 3 beds and 2 full baths. There are other areas or other fields that you can fill at, some agents might fill in. But me, I just like to try to keep it as simple as possible. So as you can see, I've already selected the property type, Cape Cod. I've already know that I want a property that's sold within the last 6 months. I want any property that's sold within the last 6 months. I need them to be at least a quarter of a mile away from my client's house. I want it to be. I want the properties that's going to do a comparison to have 3 beds or 2 full baths. And then what happens down here at the bottom is going to show me how many matches came up. And in this case, I only have 1 match. All right. So I'm going to click on results. But when I click on results, it gives me my client's property because I just recently sold that property. So we're going to need to really go in and go a little further out so we can find other properties. So we're going to go about a half mile out from my client's house and see if there's any other matches. No. We're going to go about 1 mile out and see if there's any other matches. There's 2 additional matches, including my client's property. But I would like to have 3 matches if possible. So I try to go a mile and a quarter out, see if anything populated, and 4 matches populated. With me, I typically would want at least 3 potential other properties to compare my client's property to, especially when I'm trying to price out their home. The minimum that I typically think that if we're going to compare our client's home to, the minimum I think is 2. You know, if we can't find anything but 1, I guess that's doable. But the minimum I would try to prefer or stay within is at least 2 properties. But I typically like to gather as much as 3. So once I get my matches, I'm going to see a display of different properties that's sold. It'll show me the distance of the properties that I'm looking at from my client's home. All right. So the other properties that I'm looking at are properties in Cranston, Johnston, and Providence. One's about 1.1 miles away from my client's home. The other one's 0.9 of a mile away from my client's home. And the other one's 0.7 of a mile away from my client's home. In addition to that, living in Rhode Island, the cities in Rhode Island are pretty much close to each other. Sometimes cities in Rhode Island are literally walking distance from one another, or minutes in terms of driving distance as well. The reason why we get comps in other cities close enough to our client's home is because they just basically, it's almost like they overlap each other. They that close to one another. So we will have a comp in Cranston because Johnston to Cranston is minutes away. Johnston to Providence could be minutes away or walking distance away. Then you're going to see the price. You're going to see the total lot square footage that the house sits on. That's important to know because we use lot square footage to also allow us to be able to comp our client's property. We'll also get a property address, the type of homes, the total amount of rooms, the total amount of bedrooms, the total amount of full baths, half baths, if there's any, living square footage, all right, if there's any garage, and also DOM, meaning days on the market. We're going to go through 3 of the properties real quick. But before we go through those 3 properties, we're going to look at my client's home. And what we're going to do next is we're going to look at the properties in these 3 cities. And then we'll look at my client's home. And then I'll talk about how I came up with the price of my client's home based on the other 3 properties that I'm looking at. So the very first property is a property in Cranston, Rhode Island that sold for $329,900. There are certain things that I look at when I am getting ready to do a comparison on my client's home and with other properties. The very first thing I like to look at is the original price, right? What did the other agent list the home for originally? If there's a change in the original list price, what does that change? And then I question myself, if there is a change, why did that price change? And then on top of that, I want to know what that property finally sold for. This gives me direction when I'm looking at certain things. In addition to that, I want to know how many days the house was on the market for before it sold. And in this case, the house was on the market for 13 days. Another thing that I like to look at is the year the property was built. In this situation, this property was built in 1947. All right, that's something else that I look at. In addition to that, when I'm also looking, other things that I'm looking at, all right, is the living area square footage. In this situation, the property is 1,618 square feet. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths, something that's similar to my client's home. In addition to that, I want to know the total amount of lot square footage that the property is sitting on. In this case, the property is sitting on 11,520 square feet of lot space. And then I want this other information down here that I also want to look at that the property might have, because there are things that the property has that could also enhance the value of a home. In this case, this property has 1 garage. Garage, I believe, adds value to a home. Fireplace. Fireplace, people love fireplaces, especially living in New England. People love their fireplace. So if this property has a fireplace, I'll take that into consideration. Some agents might not, but I take little things like that into consideration. If that house has granite versus Formica countertops, or if that house has quartz countertop, is the house updated, so forth and so forth. I look at all that. So while I'm talking about that, the next thing I will look at when I'm looking at this property, I want to look at the picture. Pictures tell you a lot. So to me, a good agent will take good quality pictures, because pictures will draw attention to a buyer. When a nice image of a property shows up in the buyer's screen when they're on Zillow or Redfin looking for a home and they see a nice picture, they're going to click on it, especially if it's within the parameters of what they're looking for. So if they see a property like this, they're looking for a home in Johnston, they see this on Zillow or Redfin, they're going to most likely click it. And on top of that, the picture is a well-taken picture. When it comes to us realtors, some take pictures off their cell phones, which to me, I don't like that. I prefer taking professional pictures for my client, because at the end of the day, when it comes to quality of image and presentation, those to me are very important. And there's a lot of agents out there that quality and presentation is important for them also. And then there are other agents, a lot of other agents, matter of fact, that they rather use their mobile cell phone. Quality at the end, taking good quality picture of a seller's home is a key factor. This property looks really nice as we scroll through it. Well taken interior pictures, as you can see. It might be dated a little bit, but it's a really nice image. A buyer will want to look at this property. A buyer would love to set an appointment up to go take a look at this property. If I was a client, a buyer, and I'm looking for a property in Johnston, and there's a property that came up, I would definitely click on it, take a look at it, and maybe set up an appointment, because it's a really good looking property. And this is the type of stuff that catches buyers' attention. So as sellers, taking nice quality pictures is something that's a major factor for agents like myself and others. As you can see, this property was on the market for $329,900. It sold for $329,900. Another property that was also part of the 3 was this property in Hemlock Drive. Original list price is $299,900, but then the list price is $289,900. There was a reason why it changed. Was on the market for too long? Did the agent accidentally inputted the wrong list price? Property sold for $295,000. Not bad at all. This property has 3 beds, 2 baths, something that's comparable to my client's home. 1,730 living square feet. This property sits on 5,000 square foot of lot. All right. So my client's house sits on about 9,500 square feet. Has no garage, no fireplace. Maybe that's probably a reason why it's the property sold for $295,000. Maybe with a garage, it might have sold for a little over $300,000. Who knows? There's different reasons. Is it the condition of the home? Whatever the case may be. The property is also built in 1945. So just because one property is older than another property, sometimes doesn't mean that the property is going to be priced less. If a property is slightly older than another property, but very well maintained, up to date, updated, everything and so forth, looks phenomenal, that property could probably be worth more than a newer built home, if that makes sense. Let's take a look at this picture real quick. Picture looks a little slanted, but not too bad. Actually, this is a lot better of a picture. I probably would have used this picture as my main picture, because it shows depth and it just shows the property for what it is on the outside. This is what I mean by, this is most likely a cell phone taken picture. And as you can see, I personally don't like cell phone homes that has been taken with cell phones, but every agent does their own thing. See, you don't get depth when you take images of cell phones, especially in the portrait form, should I say. Other than that, the property does not look too bad at all. Pretty decent property, maybe a little dated, but for the most part, they got this property ready for market. You don't see things all over the place. And there's some listing where you still see a client's home that just has things all over the place. Some clients don't care. Like they'll tell the agent, just go ahead and take a picture and just put it up. Some sellers just don't care. But if as a seller, I think if you really want to maximize on your profit, declutterize, and just try and make your house presentable, because the house that you're trying to sell is going to be online. It's going to be everywhere. People are going to see the property for what it is. And then if you have friends that see your property online and they see it for what it looks like, they've been like, sheesh, like what's going on here? But this property, overall, this property is not too bad. It's sold for what it's supposed to sell. It's sold for what it looks like it's supposed to sell for anyway. So whoever was the agent on this did a great job as well. In addition to that, the very last property, this property is in Providence. They had a list of $174,900. It sold for $163,000. I guarantee this property is most likely an investment property. And the reason why I say this is that in the public remarks, which is basically where we write our marketing description, you'll see that it says it needs TLC and sold as is. So there might be a lot of things wrong with this property, but once again, it might have been someone who's an investor purchasing this property, going to invest in it, turn around and make a profit, or maybe somebody who's a conventional buyer who's going to buy this home for themselves. They saw the potential of it. Bought at such a low price, going to turn around, put their own money into it, live in it, stay there, and then when they're ready to sell it down the line, they probably have enough equity to be able to do whatever, sell the property and make money off it. There's different reasons for why this property sold at $163,000, but I believe it's an investment property. Me personally, living square footage of this property is 1,685. 3 beds, 2 baths also. It sits on about 7,000 square feet of lot space, land, which is 0.16 of an acre. It does have 1 fireplace, no garages, but I guarantee you, if the person who purchased this property turns around, fix this property up, puts it back on the market, this person could probably get close to 300 or maybe a little over 300,000 for this property. So if this is an investment property, it might be a winning situation for whoever bought it. And also, this property was built in 1955, newer than the other 2 properties. Living area square footage is pretty much almost the same. So this property could be an ideal property to turn around and make money on if that's the case. And you could also see it didn't sit on the market for long at all. So somebody bought this property quick, because they knew it was a hot property. In addition to that, then what I do is gather all those information. I go back to my seller. I found 3 properties that I believe is comparable to your property. I would like to review them with you. This is what I think we could sell your home for. So I'm going to show you guys my client's home. My client's home is in Johnstown 3 Picard Drive. The other 3 properties is close to my client's home. My client's home, we initially, even though I show listing price here at $335, initially we were supposed to sell my client's home for $325. And the reason being is because my clients had a lot of things in their house. There was just so much stuff in their house. The walls have written marks all over it because they had kids. There was a hole in one of the ceilings, and the backyard steps was broken, was sitting on cinder blocks, and it was basically a safety hazard. So, but other than that, the house was solid. It was a solid home. But I told them, put a few grand into the property and I'll get you that money back. They took some time to think about it, and they said they'll do it. So the money that they put into the property, which was not much at all, allowed them to make a lot more than $325 that we were going to originally sell the property for. From 325 to selling the property for 340, that's all day. So once they invested the little money, I think it was like $1,000, something like that. Once they put that money into the house, we put the property on the market for 335. So rather than 325, I was confident enough to go in at 335 now. And in turn, we end up selling the property at 340. So it was a winning situation for my client. And granted, all situations are different. There might be sellers that are not willing to put money into the property so they can maximize their property. Maximize the sale on the property. There are some sellers like these ones that were willing to do that, and they saw the potential and they saw in the value of what I was saying, and they took the initial steps to invest that into it, and they made out really well. My client's home, built in 1951, newer than the other properties, besides the one that was an investment property. I believe the investment property was 1955, but the other ones were in the 1940s range. Then on top of that, my client's home had a living area of 1607. Below grade area is 928, which I believe was the basement. Total living area was 2535. So if you look at my client's home from the outside, it looks small. But once you open that red door and you walk in, that house was big on the inside. The property had 3 beds and 2 full baths as well. In addition, the property sat on 9,500 square foot of lot, which is 0.22 of an acre. It had a fireplace and it had a garage. So I was so confident because I saw the value of what I believe that the property could sell for. And another important thing was I wanted to make sure I took the right pictures. We took a bunch of pictures, but I selected 10 of what I thought was the best pictures, and we used that as our marketing images to go online with. So I took a nice picture of the outside, a far away picture so I could show depth of the property. Then I took a few interior pictures. My main selling point of the property was the kitchen. I wanted to make sure that I sold that kitchen because the kitchen was big. I took some pictures of the bathroom, the living room area, the backyard. There was a really big area. We had to clear up that whole backyard. There was so much going on in the backyard that we needed to clear it out. But the kitchen was my selling point. And I knew that if somebody was to look at this, kitchen, bedrooms, and bathrooms are the three key areas that people tend to look at, no matter what, especially a kitchen. You have a really nice kitchen, people look at that quick because everything's done within the kitchen. A kitchen brings people together, so I knew I needed to take a depth picture of the kitchen and just show it so people could see what the kitchen was and how they could. So, because when people look at pictures, they want to be able to submerge themselves in that image, so if they like it, they're going to tell themselves, hey, honey, or whatever case may be, I want to go see this property. So to me, pictures are very important. That's why I always use a professional photographer to take pictures, because I know at the end of the day, potential buyers are going to want to see nice images because they're going to look at that and they're going to want to see most likely that property if they like what they see. And then I sit down with my clients, go over everything with them, and I let my clients know, all right, we have a property that's sold for $163,000 up to $329,000. We looked at the images. This property sold for $329,000, but I believe I could get you, because of what you guys did, I'm comfortable going in at $335 and selling your property for $335. And we come to an agreement with that. Some sellers might want to push the button a little bit. Well, can we sell the property? Can we go at $340 or $345? I always tell my sellers, we can do whatever you want. But if the property doesn't sell, or if the property is not catching any interest, that means we potentially price the property too high. So now we have to back down on the price. So as long as I always make that aware for my clients and they know that, then we're all on the same page. I don't like pricing properties high. I like to price properties just right, or maybe slightly below, just to grab attention or interest, and also set appointments with agents and their clients to come see the property at one of the open houses that I set, and that's how I go about setting up my clients, doing market analysis so I could be able to, or market comparisons on properties so I could be able to sell or price my client's home. I look at days on the market, what the property sold for, the year the property was built, the living area square footage, the amount of bedrooms, bathrooms there is, if it has a garage, if it does it have granite countertops, is there a fireplace, how's the look of the interior and exterior of the house. I take a look at everything and I match that up with other properties I recently sold, and then I try to figure out a number that balances out for my client, and I go over that number with my client, and hopefully we come to an agreement, and we put the property on the market and sell that property. That's it. And it typically, all the time, my sellers, they typically understand it. I'm very transparent with my clients. I bring my laptop. I don't do paper presentations because they're not going to read all that. The most important thing with the client, they want to know the number that they're going to sell their house for or could potentially sell their house for. So I want to make sure that that's what I'm focusing on, because that's what really matters for them. What can their house sell for? And once everything's all said and done, we agree, we're flying. And that's how we do it. As you notice, coming up with a price for your home might not seem that complex. A lot of it is data gathering about the property and making sure we can get close enough to that ideal price for your home to sell quickly in any market condition. If you're interested in getting a free market comparison for your property, feel free to reach out to me. Doesn't hurt to see what the value of your home is. If you like this video, please click that like button. If there's anything you want me to talk about next time, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, it's your man Sadiq. Let's go.